they did it quickly. They didn't want to miss the thing. The crowd was there thinking that Jesus was going to be there, but they only found the 9, so they engaged in debate and argument with them. But now Jesus has arrived. You know, the crowd parts. Jesus goes through the crowd like a hot knife goes through butter until he gets to his disciples. And so he's got his disciples, and then he asks this question. It was just stone cold silence. And they brought him. Very interesting what it says next. It says, when the Spirit saw Jesus. Now, did the Spirit have eyes? Could we see the Spirit? Well, no. We can't see our spirit. I can't see your spirit. I can talk to your spirit. And the spirit that was inside this boy was a demon. It was an evil spirit. And the spirit was looking out through the boy's eyes. And the boy, and when the spirit saw Jesus, as he's looking out through the boy's eyes, it immediately threw the boy into a convulsion. I think so often that when evil sees the presence of Jesus, it throws itself into a convulsion. Evil cannot stand the presence of God. Evil cannot. We would say, well, God can't stand the presence of evil. Both statements are equally true. But when this spirit saw Jesus, it recognized that Jesus was the Son of God. It threw the boy into a convulsion. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. They bring the boy. The crowd is there. And suddenly the crowd gasps. Because what they see now is the boy being brought to Jesus. And then the boy falling on the ground, writhing like a snake, rolling around uncontrollably. And the crowd's full of fear. The crowd's afraid. And the crowd gasps. The boy's been under the control of the demon, but the demon now knows it's not going to last. The demon now has been brought into the presence of Jesus, the Son of God. It recognizes who he is. Even if no one else recognized it, the demon recognized it. And here's what Jesus said in verse 21. You know, Jesus was in his approach here, was very much like a physician. He's going to probe a bit. And so he does that. He says to the boy's father, he says, how long has he been like this? It's like when you go to the doctor. I've got a sore throat. Well, how long have you had the sore throat? Well, if you've only had it a day or two, the doctor might say, well, just take a couple aspirin, it's going to go away. But if you tell the doctor, you know what, I've had it now over 4 or 5 days, almost a week, the doctor is going to treat you. He's going to give you some pills, he's going to do something. Because sore throats don't last that long if it's just nothing, right? If you just dry throat, not going to last that long. And so Jesus has now made an inquiry. How long has he been in this condition? Is this something like an epileptic seizure that the boy's going to get over? And here's what the dad says. The dad says, no, he's been like this from childhood, he answers. In other words, his entire life, Jesus, he's been like this. Now Jesus knows that this is not an epileptic seizure. This is nothing that's going to just go away on its own. Jesus knows it's the evil spirit. The dad says it has often thrown him into fire or water to kill him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. If you can, said Jesus. What are you talking about? If you can, everything is possible for him who believes. I think Jesus was asking like an incredulous question. What? But I think Jesus was also asking the question with just a bit of sorrow. He'd been with them now some time. This is still early in Mark, but Mark's so short. And the dad wants action. And yet the dad seems to be lacking something. Immediately, the boy's father exclaimed, "I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief." Now look in verse 22. The dad has now changed. In verse 22 it ends with, "But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us." But in verse 24, the dad says, "I do believe, help me." So the dad has made a major shift. He has now changed from help us, generically, help me and my boy, to now, God, help me. You see, this is where it begins. It always has to begin with us. It can never begin in a crowd. In your life, it has to begin with me, with you, individually. And that's something that we just see here, that it happened like that. Verse 25. The crowd now is sensing that something is going to take place. They knew that some miracle might happen. And so there's this sense of anticipation, and the crowd begins to run toward Jesus. And even the guy at the very back of the crowd now has made his way to the front, doesn't want to miss a thing. He's got to see it all. And when Jesus saw that a crowd was running to the scene, he rebuked the evil spirit. You see, when the crowd started to form and started to run toward him, Christ acted very, very quickly. "You deaf and mute spirit," he said, "I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." His voice cracked the air like thunder splitting the sky. Can you see lightning almost coming through? The air is full of electricity, and Jesus issues the command. Verse 26. The spirit shrieked. Now, can the spirit shriek, or is the spirit shrieking through the boy? See, the spirit is immaterial, right? It's the boy that's material. So the spirit now is carrying out his activities, just like he did when he was having the boy throw himself on the ground, right? The spirit is now in control of the boy's body. So the spirit shrieked through the boy. So the boy is shrieking, convulsed him violently, and came out. The spirit came out. One last stand for the evil spirit. He knew it. And when the Son of God ordered the spirit out, he knew it was the end of the road. The game was over. The clock has run out. And so in one last violent attempt to have his way, he throws the boy on the ground, writhes him around, spittle coming out, the boy's disheveled, dirty. And it was such a violent thing that those who were there, the crowd that was there, thought the boy was now dead. And they looked at him and thought he was dead. The boy looked so much like a corpse that many said, "He's dead." You see, when evil has its way, the natural course is death. Evil is always marching towards the end, and the end is always death. There is no good thing that comes out of evil. There is nothing. If your life's been committed to evil, you end up at some point in jail. And if you live long enough to get out